So with adding integers, we're going to first do it with our color counters. Now, if you have colors at home, great, more power to you. I'm just going to do a shaded and an unshaded circle. So unshaded is this, that equals 1. And a shaded circle is going to mean negative 1. So unshaded means 1, and a shaded means negative 1. So we're going to do, how many questions I want to do? Okay, I'm going to do 3 examples with counters, an example with a number line, and then we're going to learn our rule. Because we can't always draw circles, right? Just like when you add, you can't always do tally marks. If you add like 47 plus 82, you can't do tally marks forever, right? So you want to find out how to do it without it also. So let's do the question. Let's do, for example, negative 5. This would be number 1. Let's do negative 5 plus, and notice I'm going to put negative 2 in parentheses. Now the reason we put some of these negative numbers in parentheses is so that way we don't get these signs mixed up. So when we write down these numbers, sometimes looking at a negative and the addition symbol, it gets confused in our heads. So you want to be careful with that. You want to make sure that you keep it separated, usually when it's the second number. Now you can put it for this one also, but it's usually only with that second number we put the parentheses with. So let's model it. I have negative 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have negative 5 and negative 2. 1, 2. So negative 5 and negative 2. So now when I look at this, there's no zero pairs, meaning I don't have a positive and negative that will cancel each other out. All of these are the same color, so I'm going to add like normal and keep the sign that I have. So if I count this out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 7 altogether. They're all negatives, so my answer is negative 7. This is what my final answer is. Okay? Questions? Anyone confused? Need me to explain anything? Okay. Uz, did you have a question? I see your hand up, buddy. You got a question?
So if So if they're both negative, you don't do anything?
We just no. There's nothing to do, right? We just add it like normal. Think about like our positive numbers from elementary school. When you did 1 plus 1, they're both positive. We just added it and kept it positive. Same thing with negative numbers. They're both negative. Go ahead and just add it like normal. But this time, just keep your answer as a negative number. That's it. Okay, good question. Awesome. So let's keep it going. All right. So now with the next two, we're going to look at situations where we don't get the fairy tale. Oh, let's just add and call it a day. Just keep the sign and whatever. So with number 2, we're going to see what happens when we get 2 different signs. So an example when we get 2 different signs. Let's do negative 3 plus 6. Negative 3 plus 6. Now, one thing that we talked about when we did our online counters is when I get a positive and a negative, they cancel each other out. Just like if I gave you $1 and got $1 back, they cancel each other out. Opposites cancel each other out. Positive 5 and negative 5. Positive 1 and negative 1. We call these zero pairs. All right. Now for this one, we're going to start doing a little bit of a different format of organizing our counters because on paper, I can't drag my counters away, right? So I want to make it look a little bit more neater. So let's model the same thing. So negative 3. So 1, 2, 3. And I shade them because they're negative, right? They show me that it's a negative, and I see that it's negative. Abigail, go ahead and go quickly. Okay, I'm going to keep teaching, so go ahead and go and come back. After that, we have positive 6. So with positive 6, underneath it, I'm going to draw 6 unshaded circles. And for me, I try to line them up so that way I can easily see what is getting canceled. Right? I always want to see what I get or what zero pairs occur. Now again, if you get stuck anywhere, you're like, oh my gosh, Mr. Dane, I went too fast or I missed something. I record all these lessons. So these lessons will be in Schoology, the notes will be in Schoology. So that's something to consider. Okay, so let's look at this problem. Because I'm looking at us, I can see who's writing and whatnot. So again, I wait a little bit if I see a couple of y'all writing. Okay, and remember, if you don't get everything down, it's going to be in Schoology. So as long as you're trying and taking notes with us, they'll also be in Schoology if you need help with that. All right, let me hear from, because I like a little bit of variety, guys, right? I want to hear from a little bit of everyone. Let me hear from, well, they see Subtraction. Okay, Lucas. Let me hear from Lucas. Go ahead and unmute your mic, team, and make sure you're, oh yeah, I see you here. All right, Lucas, how many 0 pairs am I going to get? So how many positive, negative pairs am I going to get that cross out? What do you think? 3. So I'm going to cross out this because that's a 0 pair. And you can put ZP, right, if you want to kind of know what that is. Over here, we get another 0 pair. And over here, we get another 0 pair. So those cancel each other out. Thank you, Lucas. You can go and mute your mic, buddy. Those all cancel each other out, right? Because anytime I get one positive, one negative, they cancel. Just like the example I said at Sayona, that's the one I memorized. If I give you $1 and take $1 back from you, you still have $0, right? It's like what you started with. So let's see what's left over. We have 3 circles left over. So if I asked you what is negative 3 plus 6, Lucas, what's left over in this problem? What do we have? You can unmute and share. What? So what's left over in my question? What do we have left over? How many circles are left over? 3. And are they positive or negative? So think back here, right? Are they positive or are they negative?
Negative?
Well, are these shaded over here? No. So positive. Good job. So that
Positive 3?
yes. So my answer would be positive 3. Now, one thing we start to think when we start doing these types of problems, it's kind of like we're subtracting, right? These 0 pairs, every time we take them away, it's like we're subtracting numbers or taking away numbers. Okay, so that's something to also think about as we go through it. Anyone have any questions on how I got that answer? Any confusions? Any doubts? This is where you talk to me and let me know. Okay, any confusions? Anyone need me to explain? We're good? We're alive? Great. Okay, because I'm looking to make sure we're alive, good, and great. We're going to do one more counter example. We're going to do 2 number line examples, and then we're going to practice with our rule. Okay, then we're going to take some time and do our exit ticket. So, quick turnaround, right? So let's do number 3. For number 3, let's do, and I'm looking off of some of my old examples. Let's do...
Miss Daniel, I can't see what you're writing.
Thank you. Yes, it's off to the side. Thank you. So let's do, for the first, or number 3, let's do, I want to do 4 plus negative 5. 4 plus negative 5. Excuse me. So I'm going to draw 4 first. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to draw negative 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again, you can shade them in however you like. If you're super artsy, you can make it, if you want to make it yellow and red counters, you can do that too. But I'm going based on if you only had your pencil at home. So bare minimum to make it work. All right, let me hear from, let me hear from Jacob. Jacob, you're going to help me out, okay, team? All right, you can unmute your mic. Jacob, how many 0 pairs, so how many positive and negative pairs can we make in this problem?
4.
4, you're right. So I can cancel these out. That's a 0 pair. Cancel those out, 0 pair. Cancel those out, 0 pair. Cancel those out, 0 pair. ZP, I just put for 0 pair. So that way you can kind of just remember it. Like when you go back to your notes and look later, you just want to put a line and then say, okay, well, I don't know what Mr. Daniel did there, right? ZP, 0 pair, whatever helps you out. So, Jacob, if I look, what's left over in this question? What's the only thing that's left over after I cancel all those out?
1.
1, right? And is it positive or negative? Going back to my key.
Negative.
Negative, great job. So it's going to be an answer of a negative 1. So the only thing left is a negative 1. Awesome, thank you, team. And again, you can write the word key up here, because this is going to be the key that we always use, right? Even when you take like a test or quiz, that unshaded will be a positive and that shaded will be a negative. The other thing to remember with our counters is 0 pairs, right? How do I find out what is a 0 pair? Okay, so both of those things are so important to understand. All right, questions. I'm taking a break every few minutes, so giving you time to catch up, but also time to ask a question. Don't wait until we do our exit ticket to say, hey, Mr. Aaron, what does it mean by 0 pair? Okay, I'm going to tell you, go back and look at your notes. Okay, same thing with Mr. Todd. He's not going to go and reteach the whole lesson when you go in a group. Okay, so you got to ask those questions now. Ask me. There's no dumb question. Okay, so ask me. If it's on topic, ask me. Please, oh please, ask me. All right, questions. Again, I'm okay with the awkward silence. I can deal with that. Okay, it's just for me to see. All right. Amoge, I see your physical hand up. Do you have a question? All right, what's up? Go ahead and unmute and share.
0. Again.
Okay, no worries. Let's do... Okay, so a 0 pair. Anytime I get one positive and one negative, they cancel each other out. Think about it as opposites, right? Opposite of 1 is a negative 1. Opposite of a negative 1 is a positive 1. The reason I put the line through them is because they cancel each other out. So, Amoge, let me give you an example, okay? Amoge, if I give you $1 and I take away $1 from you like a few seconds later, how much money do you have left? 0, right? So just like that, a positive 1 and a negative 1, they're going to cancel each other out. So I had to cancel it out, cancel it out, cancel it out, and whatever is left over is my answer. Okay? So same thing here. Every time I can match up a positive and negative, I match it up and cancel it out, and whatever's left over would be my answer. Okay, does it make more sense? Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Good question. Any other questions? All right. If no questions, we will move forward, guys. I'm going to do 2 examples on a number line. Okay, 2 examples on a number line. I'm going to try and make it kind of an easy number line, so hopefully this will help you out. Excuse me. Number 4. Let's do... Okay, I'm going to try and make easy number lines, because I know number lines usually take a lot of space up for us. So let's put 0 in the middle. Let's do 1, 2, 3, and here 1, 2, 3. Well, let's do up to 4. Let's do 4 on each side. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's -1, -2, -3, -4. Just take a few seconds and get your number line. I know my number line's not perfect, guys. Okay, don't laugh at me. But it is okay, right? Because we're doing notes on our own. I usually have a printout of it, but hey, it is okay. We're going to power through, team. Okay, so don't worry. I'm looking at us, so if it looks like we're done writing, I'm going to move forward, okay? And I can tell some people are a little bit distracted, okay? So I totally get it. You know, if there's a distraction, again, try to remove that distraction. If someone's at home, you know, try to let them know, hey, we're in the middle of notes, okay? Always mention those things. Again, taking ownership of your learning, right? So it's always something that we mention. So, and also making sure we're in front of the computer and not disappearing randomly, okay? If you got to use the rest of something, I told you it's fine to do a quick one, but again, you know, it's class time. Do what you need to. All right, so let's do the first question. Or number 4, let's do -2 plus 4. -2 plus 4. Now, for number line questions, they work a little bit different than our counters, okay? So I'm going to try to write out some steps here. I'm going to draw out 2 steps, and that's going to help us to practice on a number line, okay? So what I'm going to do my steps, give you a few practice questions, and we'll kind of go back and forth with that. So our steps are, the first thing, we always, did I say always start at 0. And again, you can do abbreviations, symbols, whatever you need to do to make sure you get your notes completed. So always start at 0. Then step 2 is going to tell you how to move on your number line. If you're adding a positive number, we move to the right. Right? Because we move in the positive direction, we're gaining. If we add negative, we move to the left because we go towards our negative numbers. Now, if you want to write that out, you can. But again, I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier. If we add positive numbers, we move to the right side. When we add negative numbers, we move to the left side. And I'll tell you what that looks like in just a few seconds. I'm going to let everyone have a chance to write. Now again, if you're having a hard time writing, it's okay. Write what you can now, and I'll post my notes by the end of the day tomorrow. Usually I wait till both classes kind of come through. Okay, but definitely it's no problem, guys. But make sure you write something. Just don't sit there and just stare at the screen and think, oh, if I go to the screen, it's going to absorb in my head that way. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? And if you get stuck somewhere, like, Isa asked a question, Uzu asked a question, Amogi asked a question, ask those questions just like that. And if you're scared about interrupting me, you can type it in the chat. Usually me or Mr. Todd will see that too, so let us know. Uzu, you got a question, buddy?
No.
No? Okay, just checking. I saw you unmute, so that's what I was wondering. Okay, so let's practice with this question. So you might want to watch me as I work through it, because when I work through it, it makes sense. So kind of listen and watch as I go through it. So step 1, we start at 0. So first thing, I have -2. So I'm going to move all the way to -2. So I'm going to move 1, 2 spaces. So now I'm at -2 on my number line. Okay? Hopefully everyone can see that. I'm at -2. Now from -2, I'm going to go ahead and look at my next one. I'm adding +4. According to my rules, when I'm adding a positive, we go to the right. We go to the right that many spaces. Now, +4 doesn't mean jump all the way to 4. No. It means move 4 spaces to the right. So I'm going to pick back up where I left off at -2. And now I'm going to move 4 spaces, and we're going to go to the right because we're adding a positive number. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I move 4 spaces to the right, we end up on 2 as my answer. Now, if you did it with counters or anything like that, you would get the same answer, guys. If you use counters, if we do it any other way, you would get the same exact answer. It wouldn't be any difference. Okay, so that's something you want to make sure you understand. Okay, questions? Anyone confused how I use the number line? Okay, let me know if I lost you at a step, or if you just need another example, because I'm going to do another example. All right? Isa, what's up? Where I lose you, buddy?
Wait, can I go to the restroom?
Oh, yeah, go quickly. Yeah, go quickly. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Questions. Again, you can type in the chat. You can let me know. Whatever works. Good, alive, breathing. We're okay. I know it's Monday kind of like for us. Okay? All right, let's do the next one, okay? I'm going to do one more number line question. And then I'm going to give you a chance to do it kind of on your own. I'll let you try one number line and one counter question. We're going to take a short break after that, because I do want to make sure we go through the... let me see. We'll see what happens. Let's do one more number line question. So number 5. Let me move my camera. Okay. Number 5. Now, number 5, we're going to draw the exact same number line. So we're going to draw the exact same thing. 0 in the middle. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to number it out the same way also. 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, -2, -3, -4. Now we're going to do the same type of process. I'm not going to rewrite the steps, but we're going to do the same process. So the same process means we're going to do start at 0, move to the left if it's negative, move to the right if it's positive. For this question, we're going to do 3 plus negative 5. 3 plus negative 5. If you think you know how to do it, try it out. Okay? Now again, me and Mr. Todd looking at everyone's wonderful faces. Make sure you're on camera. Make sure you're taking notes with us. Okay? Because I can tell when you're looking at some other website. Okay? Because I definitely know how our screen reflects. Okay? I know these things. So make sure you're working on the work with us. Like I said at the beginning of the period, I look at your exit tickets. Some of y'all not turning them in, and that's how I know you're not coming in class or you're missing out on parts of class. So make sure you're doing everything with us. You're not skipping out, logging off, anything like that. You stay with us. If you're having a hard time because of your internet connection or something, talk to me, talk to Mr. Todd. And again, these are all recorded. So if you need any of that to be repeated, that's there. Okay. Enough with my, public service announcement. Let's start at 3. So we start at 0, and we're going to go to positive 3. So we start at 0, and we move 1, 2, 3. So we stop there. Okay, so we always go to our first number first. Now again, you have to know how to do both methods, because in our exit ticket today, you're going to see both methods appear. Okay. So after you get to 3, we're adding a negative 5. So if we go back to our notes, it says when we add negative, we move to the left. So I'm going to...
I finished it.
Okay, cool. So we're going to go to negative 5. It scared me out, so I wasn't ready for that. But we're going to move 5 spaces to the left. So we pick back up where we left, and what number did you end up with? Whoever said that they were done with it. Who said they were done with it? Someone, they don't want to share anymore. Okay, it's okay. So when we look at it, I'm going to move 5 spaces to the left. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I look at that, the number we end up on is negative 2. So my final answer would be negative 2. Now you got to make sure you put the symbol there. If you don't put a symbol there, it's going to be the wrong answer. You can't just say, oh, I thought it was, I thought I'd get half credit at least. No, okay, you get no credit for just putting 2. 2 means something different, okay? Another way you can think about it is, if you got a positive 5 for a grade versus a negative 5 for a grade, again, 2 different things. One means you lost a bunch of points, and another one means you got to practice a little bit more, okay? All right, any questions on number lines or counters? Any questions? Questions. Ask me. Okay. I'm not seeing any physical hands up or any, clicked hands up. So we should be good to move on. All right, we're going to do the rule now. Now I'm going to show you how to solve it without these models. After I show you how to do it without the models, we'll take a break. And then we'll practice a little bit, and then we'll do our exit ticket. And that'll be it for the day. Okay, so you don't have to stress about anything. I'm going to teach you the rule now. Now, the rule to do adding integers is different than some of the models. Okay? Issa, you got a question? What's up? Unmute and ask. Unmute and ask. I think you mute yourself again, buddy.
Oh, for the exit ticket, are we gonna do like what we're doing right now?
Yeah, it's going to be over all this, just this.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at our rule, okay? So I'm going to show you the rule for adding integers. And this works for all adding integers. It's not like, it doesn't work for some or work for all. So here is our rule for adding integers. So there's 2 situations, okay? There's 2 situations when we're adding integers. Remember, integers are all positive and negative whole numbers, so they're not just, they're not just negative numbers. So there's 2 scenarios. The first scenario is when we have the same sign integers. So that's going to be our first rule. So this happens kind of like, for example, with number 1 that we did. And we'll be able to look at some of them with our number line also. But when we have two integers that are the same signs, either they're both positive or they're both negative, all you need to do is add like normal. And make sure that you keep the sign. Add like normal and keep the sign. Now, there is a cutesy song to remember how to do this, guys. I'm going to see if I can find it during our break. But just know that we add both numbers just like normal, just like I was adding back in elementary school, and you keep the sign. Okay? All right, so let me call on, let me hear from Amir. Amir, go ahead and unmute your mic, buddy. Turn on your camera if it's not on. All right, Amir, let me give you a situation. If I told you 7 plus 10, Amir, what do you think my answer would be if I did 7 plus 10? What do you think? And Amir, you can unmute your mic and let me know. Amir, are you there, team? All right, maybe he's not here, so we'll see what happens. Let me hear from Jonathan. Jonathan, are you here?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so Jonathan, go ahead and share with me, buddy, okay? If I did 7 plus 10, what would that get me?
17.
17. Great. Right? Not 1738, but 17. Great answer. Okay? Now, let's say, Jonathan, I gave you -5 plus -3. If I did -5 plus -3, let's follow my rules, Jonathan. It says add it like normal and keep the sign. So let's think about it. If I did 5 plus 3, what would I get normally? If I did 5 plus 3 normally, what would I get?
5 plus 3 normally, 8.
8, right? And my rule says to keep the sign. So if these are both negative, what should my answer be?
If those were both negative?
And I want to keep the sign in my answer. So what do you think my answer would be then?
-8.
Yeah, perfect. -8. Now, then, another way to think about it like our counters, right? If I did my counters, I put 5 negative counters and 3 negative counters. They're all going to be red or all going to be shaded. So if I put all of those on my little mat or whatever, then I would get -8 as my answer, right? Because they're all the same sign and I keep it the same also. All right, great job, Jonathan. Anyone confused by that? Anyone need me to explain? That's the easier part, right? And you're going to use these notes when you do exit ticket, guys. If you see a question, oh, adding integers, same sign. Oh, Mr. Jay, how do I do it when they're both the same sign? Oh, it just says add like normal and keep the sign the same. Now, this is the one where you got to pay attention to, okay? Is when we have different signs, okay? When we have different signs. So, for example, if I add a positive and a negative. So if I add a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive, however you want to call it. All right. So let's think about this. Let's go back to an example that we talked about earlier, okay? So I'm just going to go back to up here where I have 4 plus -5, okay? So when I had 4 plus -5, I kept taking out those 0 pairs, right? Notice how I kept taking those away, right? I kept removing them. Let me hear from Abigail. Abigail, go ahead and unmute your mic for me. Abigail, whenever I take out something, if I say the word take away, what operation usually comes into your head? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? What do you think?
Subtraction.
Subtraction, right? So every time, notice I only did 0 pairs when my two numbers were different signs. So here is a negative and a positive, here is a positive and negative. When they're the same sign, it's a happy fairy tale. I can just add like normal and keep the sign the same. But it's when I have different signs, I have to do the 0 pair. And Abigail said that, oh, when we have different signs, we do 0 pairs. That's like subtraction. And that's exactly what it's like. It's like subtraction. So what we're going to do, whenever you get two numbers with different signs, I'm going to explain this in a second, but just write down that we subtract the larger absolute value from, so again, we subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value. Oh, L. No, I spelled that wrong. So subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value. And we're going to keep the sign of the larger absolute value. Now, it may not make sense when, I'm going to abbreviate this just to save some space. Now, it may not make sense when we write it down, okay, but I'm going to show you an example, okay, because, again, I want you to write it down so you have that there. So again, if you don't have me later on, you don't have Mr. Todd there to do homework or something, you have that there to help you out. Now, I'm going to explain what this means. Take the larger absolute value, subtract it from the smaller absolute value. Now, absolute value meant like taking the distance from 0, right? Like, so the absolute value of negative 10 was positive 10. The absolute value of 40 is positive 40, right? It's just keeping the absolutely positive version of that number. So I'm going to give us an example. Let's do... Okay. Let's do negative 2 plus 4. Negative 2 plus 4. I'm going to try to keep it small numbers to help you out. So negative 2 plus 4, they're different signs. One's negative and one's positive. Okay, I'm going to hold on a little because I see some of y'all still writing. So I'm waiting just a little bit. I see some of y'all writing. Okay, Issa, you got a question for me?
Like I ran out of space on my page. Do I have to go to the next page?
Go to the next page and keep it as page 10. Just don't skip the number, okay? Keep it as page 10. So negative 2 plus 4, they're both different signs, right? One's negative, one's positive. So they told me to subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value. So for example, if I took the absolute value of negative 2, that's 2. The absolute value of 4 is 4. Okay? So let me hear from Abby. Abby, go ahead and unmute your mic for me. Abby, if I took the absolute value of negative 2, that equals 2. The absolute value of 4 is equal to 4. So which one's going to be bigger, 4 or 2? What do you think?
I think 4.
4. 4 is going to be bigger. So my rule tells you to subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value. So I'm going to take 4 and subtract 2. Now the reason I'm subtracting 2 is because when I look at it, we have 4. The reason we're subtracting, is because we have 0 pairs, right? So if I were to draw this using my counters, if I had negative 2 and then positive 4, right? These would cancel out. So I would take those away. So if I had negative 2 and positive 4, I would have to do 0 pairs. So again, we take the absolute value of both numbers. So that's like 4. This is like 2. Well, I know 4 minus 2 gets me 2. Now it says keep the sign of the larger absolute value. So Abby, you said my largest one was 4, right? So originally, was that a positive 4 or a negative 4?
Positive.
Positive 4. So my answer is going to stay and be positive 2. And the reason I would say it's positive 2, because if you look at my counters, we have more positives than negatives. So anytime we have, whatever we have more of, so in this case we have more positives, my answer is going to be positive. Now if I had more negatives, my answer would be negative. So that's just something to think about. I'm going to do 2 more examples, and then I'll let you take your break. Okay, so just kind of be patient, guys. I'll do 2 more examples, then I'll let you take your break. One example you're going to do with me. Okay, so let's say we did, try and do something easy that you don't have to do too much writing with. Let's do -3 plus 1. -3 plus 1. Now again, if you think about it in your head, that's like 3 shaded circles and 1 unshaded circle. So it says subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value. Let me hear from Arshan. Arshan, go ahead and unmute your mic, buddy. Arshan, so if I took the absolute value of -3, that's going to be 3. The absolute value of 1 is going to be 1. So which one's going to be my bigger absolute value, Arshan? Is 3 going to be bigger or is 1 going to be bigger? And Arshan, you can unmute and share. Arshan, are you here with us, team? Okay. I'm not
Can I
hearing
say
it.
the answer?
Okay, go ahead and share it, Issa. Go for it. So what will be my bigger, you get it? It muted you. Go ahead and unmute yourself. So what's going to be my bigger absolute value, Issa? 3 or 1? You got to unmute and share. I can't hear you. There you go.
1.
Oh. So over here, 1 is the bigger number, right? Because it's a positive 1. But after I do the absolute values, right? See how my absolute values here, 3 and 1? What's bigger, positive 3 or positive 1?
Positive 3.
Okay. So we're going to take that positive 3, because we take the larger absolute value, and subtract it from the smaller absolute value. So I do 3 minus 1, which will get me 2. Now, Issa, let's look at if I did it with my counters. Okay, so I have -3 and positive 1, right? So Issa, I would get a 0 pair over here, right? Those cancel out. So what would be left over, Issa? Would that be a positive 2 or a negative 2?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So that's why we did subtraction, right? Because I took my bigger absolute value minus my smaller absolute value. So I took 3 and subtracted 1, and I got left over with 2. Now I know it's a negative 2, just kind of like Issa said, because we have 2 negatives that will be left over. So same thing, if I have negative counters, I know I have 3 negative, 1 positive, I'm going to have more negatives than positive. So because I have more negatives than positive, my answer has to be negative. Okay? Questions? Anyone having a question about that? This is where you ask Mr. Daniel, hey, how do you know your answer is negative? Mr. Daniel, hey, why did you do 3 minus 1? Mr. Daniel, why are you doing absolute value? Those are the kind of questions you can raise your hand and ask. Okay, because I went over them, but I'll go over it one more time if we need to. So ask away if you have a question. You can click on the raise your hand button and ask me there. If you don't want to use your voice, you can use the chat option. That's up to you. Okay, questions? Questions going once? Questions going twice? Good, alive, breathing, great. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 questions. Okay, do 2 questions. Take a 5-minute break after that, and then we'll come back and do our exit ticket. Okay, so let's do 2 questions. So example 1, and that's going to be the last thing for our notes for today. Let's do 8 plus -12. Again, use your steps, go through your process. Example 2, let's do -14 plus -5. Okay? So you got 2 questions there, okay? So I want you to go ahead and solve those 2. Take 5 minutes for that. Then take a 5-minute break, okay? At 12:15, you need to come back on here because I'm going to explain how to do these 2 again. then we're going to get time for our exit ticket. Okay? So 12:15, we're going to come back, finish this before 12:15. So take 5 minutes to do this, take a 5-minute break, and I'll put my clock on the screen so you can see how much time we have left. Okay? Excuse me. So I'll be here, so if you have any questions, let me know. Okay? My quiet thinking music's going to be playing. Try those two out, and then we'll review. Let's go ahead and review these two questions. Okay, so we talked about our rules for adding integers. The main thing you want to also take away is that for same sign, we add like normal. For different signs, we subtract, because remember we do 0 pairs. So that's why adding integers has two separate rules. We either add the same signs together or subtract if they're different signs. All right, let me hear for number 1, what did you get for your answer? Let me hear from James. James, go ahead and share with this team. What did you get for number 1?
For number 1, I got -4.
-4 is correct. Awesome. So let's look at that. So I'm going to do the absolute value of both of them. So that's like taking positive 12 and subtracting 8. Okay? Because positive 12, positive 8, I subtract both the absolute values. When I do 12 minus 8, that gets me 4. And Brandon, how did you know your answer? Sorry, not Brandon, sorry. James, how did you know your answer was negative?
Because the negative number is bigger than the positive number.
Right. The absolute value of negative 12 is bigger. Think about circles. If I drew 12 shaded circles and I drew 8 unshaded circles, I would have more shaded or more negative circles. So that's why my answer is -4. Awesome job. All right, number 2. Number 2, let me hear from Pauline. Pauline, go ahead and unmute your mic, please, and share with us. What did you get for your answer for number 2?
-19.
-19 is correct, ma'am. Right? Add them like normal. They're both negative. Add like normal. That's like 14 plus 5. 14 plus 5, right? Add like normal, we get 19. Both answers are negative. Answers are -19. Great job. Any questions? Anyone confused? Need me to explain?